Hello, welcome to the video. I'm going to be checking out the RX 7800 XT on Starfield. Going to be checking some 4K, 1440p and 1080p. I'll do 4K first, so we're in 4K here. And then I'm going to play with everything maxed out, so we've got ultra high in the settings. Upscaling's off at first, but I will check that out as well. So let's have a look. Okay, so FPS wise here, we're looking at about between 40 and 50 FPS. It looks like, which I actually thought it would be a lot worse at 4K. Actually not too bad. Can't hit this thing. VRAM's looking about very similar to what we've seen with the XTX and the 4090. Between kind of 8 and 11.5, I think is the max that I saw at 4K, so we're within that range. We've obviously got 16 gig on this card, so perfectly within that range. Power usage as well is pretty much maxed out. It fluctuates a little bit more to me, that it looks like, than my XT or XTX cards. Between kind of 240, 265, something like that on this. And still pretty smooth as well, although we've got lowish frames, it doesn't actually feel too bad. Definitely thought it would be a lot lower. Thought it would be more in the kind of 20 FPS area. So we should see on planets and cities, I think it's likely going to be in and around this area, like 40 to 50. Maybe some dips down to 30, 35 in New Atlantis. And then I think in probably some areas indoors and in space and stuff probably could push 60, I reckon. Could have a look at FSR here. If we drop it down to 67, which I believe is FSR quality equivalent. Yeah, we see about 60 FPS. Don't know if these things are going to attack. I'm assuming they won't attack me. Still maybe going to dip slightly under 60, but if we try first with FSR off, see how it does. Seems like it's probably going to be fairly similar to where we were. Maybe, yeah, dips into the 30s, maybe slightly worse. So probably even with FSR, we'll see it dip below 60 a bit more. CPU load as well here seems a lot lower. We're at about 35% before. Now we're kind of closer between 10 and 20% compared with like my XTX and 4090. So if we have a look at FSR as well, see if we can get 60. Seems like we're just about hovering around there, I think. 61, 60, maybe slightly dips under, but yeah, 57. I think it'd be good enough, in and around 60 at least. Okay, so now I'm going to be taking a look at 1440p. You can see here, 2560 by 1440. Everything's maxed and upscaling's off at first. We'll check that out with it on as well. So let's check out the frames. Should be, I'm hoping to stay above 60 here. Looks like we will. I don't know if there'll be big dips under. I think we might be safe. In the city areas, I would guess we're probably going to be dipping under 60, but seems like for the most part, this would probably hold above. Dip there in when I was shooting a little bit into the 60s, but still mid to high 60s, it looks like. Definitely feels a lot better though at 1440p. Frame time's looking a little bit choppy though. She didn't notice that at 4K. But we're using about 7 gigs of VRAM. It's about 2 gig less than at 4K. Power's down as well by about 20 to 30. So definitely, I think for brand new games, this card's definitely going to be aimed at the 1440p area. It's potentially going to struggle in brand new games. With everything maxed out, at least you could either drop settings or just upscale. We'll check it out with the upscaling as well. We'll hope to gain maybe about 20 FPS. Here we're at about 90. Might even be able to hit 100, I think, in certain areas. If you go indoors and stuff, with FSR on here, I think you probably hit 100 or above. Almost hitting that now. So we'll first check on native 1440p. I think we probably see it dip under 60. Yeah, we do, 58. Still definitely a lot better than it was at 4K though. We were at about 35 FPS. Dipped down to 4K. So it's definitely going to be a lot more playable. CPU usage though at 1440p looks like it's up quite a bit as well, up into the 35%. But at least we're not getting any bottleneck or anything like that. Staying at about 99%, 100% GPU usage. So if we put FSR on here, we then shouldn't see it dip below 60, I would have thought. Don't think we get the highs of what we had on that planet, but had the highs of almost 100. I don't think we see that here, but still decent. Frame time looks better here as well. Check out the area over here where it seems to dip down quite a lot. Did see it, GPU usage though, just dip down to about 90% for a split second. Which is odd, but I have seen that at kind of lower resolutions, 1080p, 1440p, it does do that. I know there were issues with some of the AMD 3D CPUs doing that too, but I think it kind of stays there a bit more. For me, it just drops down for a split second and then it's back up to 100. Okay, so I'm now going to be having a look at 1080p. We're at 1920 by 1080. Everything's maxed, ultra high again, and upscaling's off, as you can see here. So let's have a look at that. Seems like we're kind of hovering around 100. It down slightly here to like 90. Wonder if we have that frame time. I wonder if that frame time starts looking choppy like it was before. It looks a lot better to me, but I'll go over here, which is where it was looking a bit weird. I'm not sure. Most people probably wouldn't use this card to play 1080p, but thought we'd just see what the frames are like. Obviously, we're gonna be a lot higher than 60 here. Shouldn't get too bad dips. Power as well. Seems like it sort of drops about 20 to 30 watts maybe each res you go down. 4K was about 260. It's definitely, in my opinion, a good idea if you're running 1080p to probably just put FSR on, not necessarily change any render resolution, so frame-wise you won't notice any difference, but the anti-aliasing that's built in, it makes the game, in my opinion, look a lot better at 1080p. Looks a lot more crisp in the image. It makes it look a little bit better at 1440p, but it's not so big of a difference. At 4K, kind of even less so. Because anti-aliasing doesn't really make too much of a difference at 4K, but 1080p definitely, I think it's worth having on. Just makes it look a little bit better. Even if you're not actually rendering lower to get the extra FPS. Just having that switched on, I think, makes it look a little bit sharper. And then you can actually change the sharpness setting here. You can drop that down if you wanted to. But I think, to be honest, I mean, I had it at 100 then. I think it looks pretty decent. But then if you also choose to do render resolution, push that down to 67. It looks like we're getting over 100 FPS now. I would never personally use any upscaling at 1080p because you end up rendering at a really low res, which I think can sometimes, most of the time, make the quality quite a lot worse. Especially on a card like this that's not really, it's designed to play at a higher res than 1080p. I definitely wouldn't be using upscaling. So I'll try out first with FSR off. So yeah, sit down here. Should hold above 60, I think, but still, it's pretty low FPS for 1080p. This bit here is the worst normally. We're holding in the 70, 68 FPS, so it's really not. You know, you should be expecting it more than 60 FPS here at 1080p, which we are getting. But I'd have thought it'd be higher, but. Maybe we get some updates in the game that makes it a bit better. Haven't had any updates at all in the game yet. And we could try FSR out here too. If we can get over 100. Not quite. Doesn't really give us. Gives, well, it was about 20 FPS, I guess. Need frame generation, FSR 3 really. That should see us get a lot more frames. Game like this could really do with that. That's going to be it for this video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure to leave a like on the video, drop me a comment. Let me know what you think of the GPU so far, and I'll catch you next time.